Well, that was insane. This series is great, man. The last two games have been absolutely nuts. Maybe not for Suns fans, but that lob with like 10 seconds left or whatever from Drew to Giannis, where Drew stole it from Booker. I'm legit never going to forget that play. That is an all time NBA moment. That play in that arena with Giannis missing the two free throws beforehand. I don't know if that adds to the moment, but oh boy. I mean, I'm supposed to give you like an actual take about this game overall, but I just want to appreciate the insanity of the moment for a little bit. I mean, the story of this game was probably just the shot making by both teams. I mean, Middleton, he had how many tough jump shots late there? I mean, there was the deep two on Crowder where they got the switch where I was so mad when that was the shot. I was like, really? This is the play? And then he made it. There was a tough Middleton three that I remember. That three that Devin Booker had late to get it back to like a 3-point game, whatever it was, and just Devin Booker's mid-range shot making this whole game was nuts. I feel like it was mainly PJ Tucker on him, and I feel like some people were blaming Brook Lopez for Devin Booker going off in the series. To me, it was more so the guy who was initially defending Booker just getting beat continuously, getting around or not getting around a screen, that sort of thing. And they run the handoffs and the curl actions for him and all that. There was a step back jumper over Pat Connaughton, I remember as well. I feel like there was also a lot of like Chris Paul isn't playing well. The stat sheet would suggest by the end of the game he was pretty all right. But I do still feel like it's a whole lot different from earlier in the series, right? Where, having Drew pick him up full court so often, it's definitely making a difference, even if by the end of it, they had that swing three-pointer to him. He had that tough mid-range over Giannis in the fourth quarter there, like on the baseline a little bit. Speaking of Drew, we got the Drew Holiday game, and it was beautiful. Some of it was certainly him making tough shots. I mean, sorry, this game was so nuts. I got to think about this one. When he stole it from Booker, not the one late, but the other one, but then he made the three on Booker. That was the ultimate gutsy, like, I'm just on fire shot from Drew. But the more boring stuff I felt like was Giannis screens, Lopez screens, maybe some Portis screens as well. And it seems like the Suns, at least when it's Ayton, they're usually choosing to drop on those unless I'm just not remembering it well enough. And he's getting into those pull-up jumpers okay enough, but he also had some where he just beat his guy off the dribble and just went right into the teeth of the Suns defense and actually had layups where he was finishing around guys. And it was just cool to see that composure from Drew, because I do think sometimes he's gotten a little ahead of himself and he's dribbled into traffic a little too much, and it seems like he's like almost been trying to will the ball to go in a few too many times this series, and it went in for him today. As for Giannis, I mean, some of it is setting the screens for Middleton and then allowing Middleton to get into the pull-up or spray it out to Connaughton or Bobby Portis, who had a bunch of threes in this one. Drew made that one to PJ Tucker when they left him wide open on the baseline. The Suns are not guarding PJ Tucker at all, by the way. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, with Giannis. The other thing with Giannis, though, is because mainly it was Ayton on him this whole game, right? And Giannis, it seemed like at a certain moment he just realized, if I'm going to have to score, I'm going to have to just go through DeAndre Ayton. And he did make at least like one turnaround jumper on Ayton, which the Suns will, of course, take. But he also had a few times where he's just sizing him up, doing a little left-right dribble, nothing too crazy, and then he just bursts right at him. And whether it's a little bit of a Euro step or just getting him off balance just a little bit to finish around him in the signature Giannis way of, this is the only guy who can do this, it just kind of works out. Giannis's passing was also pretty nuts today, and I feel like this game especially, I mentioned how the Suns were not guarding PJ Tucker much, especially in the first half. I'd have to look at the second half again, but it felt like this was the one game, or the first time, where they super committed to, we're just not going to guard certain guys. We're going to pack the paint as much as we possibly can. And I don't think it was a coincidence that with that, Giannis had a bunch of assists today. Granted, at least one of them was just swing offense, him on the elbow, bounce pass to Chris Middleton, top of the key. And I'm pretty sure at least one or two of them were fast breaks to like Pat Connaughton or whatever. So maybe I just disproved my entire point, but I do feel like the Bucks found ways to benefit from the Suns just committing so hard to defending at the rim. Speaking of defending at the rim, because these were some stats that were going around. So we all know, like with the Bucks, their main thing is protect the basket and stay home on shooters in the corners. That's their thing. They're willing to give up mid-range and top of the key threes. And at a certain point, the Suns had attempted so many mid-range jumpers in this game that I feel like the Bucks were kind of like Jedi mind tricking them almost, where it's like, okay, Devin Booker, like keep getting your one-on-one pull-up buckets. That's fine, because you're not getting corner threes, you're not getting a whole lot of trips to the line, and you're not getting a lot of easy layups. And yeah, I understand sometimes the drop defense looks frustrating when it's just like easy jump shot over and over again. But the idea of it is the math will eventually fall in your direction unless they shoot insanely well, which Booker nearly did. But still, there was a moment where the Suns had like 15 three-pointers attempted the whole game, and it's like, well, they're actually playing a game out of 1997 right now or something. To speak on other things, I mean, the Suns, I don't think they got as killed on the boards as they had in the last two games, so that's good. And maybe the Suns can also tell themselves, well, they didn't turn the ball over as much. Granted, there still were some crucial turnovers. And they can also say, well, yeah, not Giannis. Middleton and Drew made shots that they can live with. Okay. At the same time, you're down 3-2, you're going back to Milwaukee. So, like, this is the third time you're saying that they made shots that you could live with. But also, I just feel like something clicked with the Bucks in this game. Maybe it was just in, like, Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis's three-point attempts, but both of them went nuts, and I think the Bucks just had this moment of, like, oh, these guys are going to be open all game. I mean, similar with PJ Tucker, I just don't think they're wired to throw the ball to PJ Tucker like that. And if you're the Suns, it's like, well, what the hell do we do? I mean, we can throw as many guys at Giannis as possible, but if you're going to trap Middleton or you're going to trap Drew, and then it's a matter of getting it to Giannis in the middle of the floor who can then make the pass to whoever, or it's going to be just an easy thing to Connaughton or Portis in the corner, like, you're kind of screwed, man. I mean, I do think if you look at game one, Giannis wasn't 100%. Game two, the Suns escaped with him playing like an all-time guy. And then since then, it's gone back in the favor of the Bucks are just the better team. That's just kind of what it looks like. Now, as I say that, I'm not discounting the Suns from taking this to a game 7. I mean, this game almost swung back in their direction. But this just might be how it is, man. Maybe the Bucks were just supposed to win this series the whole damn time. I mean, if I can think of adjustments, you can try throwing extra guys at Middleton and Drew and getting them a little more uncomfortable. I also think Chris Paul got kind of cooked by Drew in this game. I mean, Drew was getting around screens, or he was beating CP in one-on-ones, and I mean, maybe CP ended up doing okay by the end of it, but there were a lot of possessions where he wasn't looking the best on Drew, so I don't know. I think the biggest thing, honestly, is a little more movement within the offense besides just the CP stuff, or not the CP, the Devin Booker like handoffs and the curls and all that. You can also look to Ayton a little bit more. I definitely think there's some rolls to the rim and times where he gets good position where they don't totally look his way. There was at least one when he was trapped in the fourth quarter that I remember. And then on the other side of things, I don't know. I'm sure there's some ideal way to guard Drew or Middleton without giving super easy stuff to the rest of the Bucks. I don't know what it is. Whether it's putting Mikal Bridges on somebody, bringing a double, playing a zone as they've experimented with a bit in this series. I don't know. The Bucks offense is operating in a way that, sure, they don't start the games with this, but they end up finishing the games with this in a way that we've been asking them to do forever, which is Giannis setting screens on the ball and putting Pat Connaughton out there rather than PJ Tucker. He played more than Tucker in this game. It's tough to defend, man. I don't know.